At 85, I almost fell for the grandparent scam. Here's exactly what to say. I'm 85 years old, and tonight I want to tell you about the 4 minutes that nearly cost me everything I have saved in this life. Not an illness, not a bad investment, a telephone call. 4 minutes late on an ordinary Tuesday night that came within 1 inch of taking $9,000 and a good piece of my dignity right along with it. I almost fell for it. Me, a man who had read about this very scam in the newspaper. A man who had warned his own friends about it over coffee, wagging his finger like he knew better. And still that night they nearly had me, standing in my front hall with my coat on and my hand already on the doorknob. So before I tell you the whole story, let me make you a promise. By the time we are finished here, I am going to give you the exact words, the precise things to say out loud, word for word, that will stop this scam dead in its tracks, every single time, no matter how real it sounds and no matter how frightened you feel. Words you can write on a card and keep right next to your telephone. But you have to hear how I got that close first. Because if it could happen to me after 85 years of being a careful man, then I promise you it can happen to someone you love. So stay with me all the way to the end. And I think I know what you might be telling yourself already. You're thinking, not me. I would never fall for a thing like that. I want you to hold that thought gently, my friend, because I thought the very same thing, right up until the night I nearly did. So let me show you exactly how they do it, step by step, the way it happened to me. It started the way these things always start, with a feeling, long before a single fact had a chance to arrive. The phone rang close to 10 o'clock at night. Now, at our age, a phone ringing that late does something to the heart. It never means good news. So I was already worried before I even picked it up, and the voice on the other end was crying. "Grandpa? Grandpa, it's me." A young man's voice, shaking, thick with tears. And then he said the words that went straight past my brain and into my chest. "Grandpa, I'm in trouble. I need your help. I have a grandson." And in that one frozen second, my heart did the thieves' work for them. My mind reached for his name, and I said it out loud. I said, "Tommy, is that you?" And the voice said, "Yes, Grandpa, it's Tommy. Please don't be mad at me." I want you to notice what just happened there, because it is the first trick, and it is so simple it's almost beautiful in how cruel it is. He never told me his name. I told him. My love filled in the blank. And the moment I did, he became my grandson. From that second on, I wasn't talking to a stranger anymore. In my mind, I was talking to Tommy. He told me he'd been in a car accident, that it was his fault, that his face was hurt, which, he said through the tears, was why his voice sounded a little different. Wasn't that clever? He explained away the very thing that might have saved me. Then he told me he'd been arrested, that he was scared, sitting in a cold room, and that there was a lawyer there who could explain everything. And then he said the thing that should have stopped me cold, but didn't. He lowered his voice and he begged me, "Please, Grandpa, please don't tell Mom and Dad. I can't let them know. I'm so ashamed." And then a second man came on the line, calm, smooth, official sounding. He said he was the public defender assigned to my grandson's case. He used words like arraignment and posting bond. He told me the bail had been set at $9,400 and that it had to be paid today in cash, and that a bonded courier would come to my home to collect it within the hour. And he reminded me very gently that the judge had issued a gag order on the case, so I must not, under any circumstances, discuss this with anyone, especially not the boy's parents. It could hurt his defense. And I have to tell you, it did not sound like a scam. It sounded like a Tuesday night gone wrong. There were sounds behind his voice, a door closing somewhere, low voices, a telephone ringing far off. The man called me sir. He was respectful. He never asked me for the money outright. He simply explained the situation, the way an official would, and let my own fear do the asking for him. That is how good they have become. They do not sound like criminals. They sound like the calm, capable professional you are praying will help your grandchild. Now let me tell you exactly how close I came, because the closeness is the whole lesson. I hung up that call already moving. I went to the bedroom and I took the envelope of cash from the back of the dresser drawer, the emergency money. I counted it on the bed with shaking hands. My mind was racing through everything except the one question that mattered. I was wondering whether the cash machine had a nightly limit. I was wondering what to wear to the courthouse. I was picturing poor Tommy, cold and frightened in a cell. I was not thinking, not for one single second, that this might not be real. That is what the fear does to you. It crowds your whole head with the emergency until there is no room left over for doubt. I wrote the bail amount on a scrap of paper so I wouldn't forget it. I put on my coat because the night was cold, and I thought I might have to step outside to meet the courier. I walked to the front door. I put my hand on the doorknob. And the only reason I am sitting here telling you this story, instead of telling you how I lost $9,000, is one small thing. One wrong note in the music. It was that line, "Don't tell his mother." Standing there at the door, coat on, money in my hand, some quiet thing in me, 85 years of quiet things, finally spoke up and asked one simple question. Why? Why on earth would a real lawyer tell me to hide my own grandson's arrest from his own mother? That isn't how love works. That isn't how family works. A real lawyer would want the boy's parents called first thing. The secrecy didn't protect Tommy. It protected them, the men on the phone. It kept me from making the one telephone call that would end the whole thing in 10 seconds flat. So I took my hand off the doorknob, and I picked the phone back up and I said, as steady as I could, "I want to call my daughter first." And in an instant, everything changed. The kind voice went hard. The patience vanished. The man started talking fast, pushing, telling me there was no time, that I'd be hurting my grandson, that the courier was already on his way and I'd look foolish. He bullied me. And that, my friend, is the moment I knew for certain. Because here is a truth you can carry with you for the rest of your life. The moment a caller stops helping you and starts pressuring you, the moment kindness turns into a push, you are no longer talking to family. You are talking to a thief. Now let me pull the curtain back the rest of the way, because once you see how this trick is built, you can never be fooled by it again. The first thing you must understand is that this scam does not work because people are stupid. I need you to hear that, especially if you have already been caught by one of these. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. I was a careful man, an informed man, and they still got me with my coat on. It works because it doesn't go after your mind at all. It goes after your heart. And it goes after it so fast that your good sense never even wakes up. They use 3 weapons together, all at once. The first is love. It's your grandchild, the person you would do anything for. The second is fear. That child is hurt or in a cage or in danger. And the third is urgency. It has to be right now, this hour. No time to think, no time to check. Love, fear, and urgency fired at you all together in the dark, late at night. That combination can knock the legs out from under the wisest person who ever lived. It nearly did me. And there is a reason these calls so often come late at night. and a reason they come for people our age. Late at night we are tired, we are alone, and our guard is down. And they come for us, for seniors, on purpose, because they believe we have savings set aside, because they know we love our grandchildren with our whole hearts, and because they are betting we live far enough from our family that we cannot simply walk down the hall and check. They are counting on our being alone. So the more alone you feel, the more careful you must be. And there is something new that frightens me more than anything else, and I need you to know about it. It used to be that these calls relied on a bad connection and your own ears filling in the gaps. But now, today, these thieves can copy a voice. They take a few seconds of someone talking, lifted from a little video posted online, a birthday clip, a graduation, anything, and a machine builds a fake that sounds exactly like your grandchild, their real voice. So the old comfort, the thing we all lean on, it sounded just like him. That is no longer proof of anything at all. That is the hardest part for me to say, but you must hear it. The voice can lie now. And remember that name trick I told you about? It's no accident. They are trained to never say the name first. They say, "Grandpa, do you know who this is?" And they wait, because they know your loving heart will rush in and offer up the name, and the second you do, their job is half done. You built their disguise for them. Now, this thief does not always wear the same costume. The grandson in jail is just one of his outfits. So let me show you the others, because underneath, they are all the very same animal. Sometimes it's a granddaughter who's been in a terrible car wreck and is in the hospital, and a doctor or a nurse comes on the line. Sometimes it's an arrest for drunk driving, and the caller is a police officer or a bail bondsman instead of a lawyer. Sometimes the loved one is stranded in a foreign country, robbed, in a jail overseas, and needs money wired to get home. Sometimes, and this is the cruelest one of all, they tell you they have kidnapped your family member, and you can hear someone screaming in the background, and they demand a ransom before you can hang up. And more now, it comes first as a simple text message. "Hi, Grandpa, I lost my phone. This is my new number. Can you help me with something?" Just to get the conversation started on friendly ground. And do not imagine for a moment that they are calling you blind. Many of these thieves do their homework first. They read what your family has put online. The names, the photographs, the vacation, the new baby, the grandson who just started college. So when the call comes, they may already know your grandson's name, where he goes to school, even that he plays baseball. The little details that make it feel impossibly real are not magic at all. They were sitting right out in the open, and a stranger gathered them up to use against you. That is one more reason to be careful about how much of your family's life is on display for anyone to see. And the way they want the money tells you everything. It is always cash by courier, or gift cards read over the phone, or a wire transfer, or one of those money apps, or even those digital coins. Why those? Because every single one of them is fast, and once it's gone, it is gone forever. There is no bank to call. There is no getting it back. A real emergency, a real hospital, a real court never works that way. But underneath every costume, it is always the same three things stitched together. A loved one in sudden terrible trouble, a demand for secrecy, and an urgent payment in a form you can never trace or recover. When you see those three things arrive together, you can stop guessing. You are being robbed. And if you have already sent money to one of these, somewhere along the line, I want to say something to you directly, and I want you to let it in. You are not a fool. You were not careless. You were robbed by professionals who do this all day long, who rehearse every word, who have scripts and training and no conscience at all. The shame in this story does not belong to you. It belongs entirely to them. So set it down, and then let me give you the armor so it never happens again. Here is what I promised you at the very beginning, the exact words. Say these, and the scam falls apart in your hands every single time. But the first and most powerful one you have to do before the call ever comes. This week, while you're thinking of it, you sit down with your family and you choose a family password. One word or a short phrase that only your real people know. Not a birthday, not a pet's name, nothing that's ever been posted on the internet. Something private and a little silly, the kind of thing a thief could never guess. And everyone in the family learns it. Then, when that call comes, no matter how upset the voice sounds, you take a slow breath and you say this, calmly. I'm so glad you called, sweetheart. Now give me our family word. And then you go quiet and you wait. Your real grandchild will know it. A thief never will. That one sentence ends most of these calls before they even begin. Let me show you how that sounds so it becomes real to you. The phone rings and a panicked voice says, Grandpa, it's me, I'm in trouble. And instead of your heart leaping out of your chest, you take that slow breath and you say warmly, I am so glad you called, honey. Now tell me our family word. And there will be a pause. A real grandchild fills that pause with the word, and the two of you move right along. But a thief in that very pause will get angry, or get confused, or simply hang up on you. Either way, you will know the truth inside 5 seconds, and you will not have lost $1. 5 seconds weighed against $9,000. That is the trade that one little word buys you. Now, if you haven't set up a password yet, you are not without protection. You simply say this, I'm going to hang up now, and I'll call you right back on your own number. And then you hang up. You don't argue. You don't explain. You just hang up and dial the real number you already have saved for that grandchild, or you call their mother or father directly. 9 times out of 10, you'll find the child safe at home, sound asleep, with no idea any of this is happening. That single phone call, the very one the thieves beg you not to make, is the thing that destroys them. And here are the smaller phrases to keep ready, like tools on a shelf. If a voice says, Grandpa, do you know who this is? You never ever guess. You say, you tell me. A real grandchild will laugh and say their name. A thief will fumble because you just took away his favorite trick. If anyone says, can you hear me? You do not answer yes. You simply say, who is calling, please? And when the talk turns to money, this is your line, and you say it plain. I never send money over the phone. Not by cash, not by gift card, not by wire, not by courier. Ever. And one more for the secrecy. You say, no real lawyer and no real judge has ever told a grandparent to hide an arrest from the child's own parents. So I'm calling them right now. And then the most important words of all, the ones that end it for good. No matter how the voice cries, no matter how much it sounds like your own flesh and blood, no matter how they beg, you say this, and then you do it. I'm going to hang up and check on this myself. And you hang up the phone. Let me promise you something about that. If by some impossible chance it really was your grandchild, you can always call back in 2 minutes and apologize, and they will understand, and you'll both laugh about it someday. But you can never ever get your money back from a thief. So when in doubt, you hang up. Hanging up is never the wrong choice. And if someone has arranged for a courier to come to your door to collect cash, do not open that door. You are under no obligation to hand money to a stranger on your porch. None at all. Keep the door locked. Call your local police on their non-emergency number and tell them what is happening. A real court never sends a man to your home to collect cash in an envelope. Never once, not anywhere. The doorbell ringing is not proof of anything either, except that these people are bold. You are allowed to let it ring. Let me tell you how my own night ended. After I put that phone down, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. But I called my daughter, and she went down the hall and she opened a bedroom door, and there was Tommy, sound asleep in his own bed, 15 miles away from me, safe as could be. No accident, no jail, no lawyer, nothing. It had all been a story, built out of nothing but my love for that boy. I sat down at my kitchen table that night, and I'm not ashamed to tell you I cried. Some of it was relief, the good kind, the kind that washes through you when the danger turns out to be a ghost. But some of it was something else, because I understood, sitting there in the quiet, that they had not tried to trick me with a lie about money or prizes. They had tried to use the best thing in me, the love I carry for my grandson, and turn it into the weapon that would rob me. And there is a special kind of sorrow in learning that your own good heart can be used against you. But here is what I want you to carry away from my kitchen table tonight, more than anything else. Your love is not a weakness. Do not let this make you cold or suspicious of everyone who calls. Your love for your family is the very best of you. It is what a long life is for. You simply have to put a good strong lock on the door that love walks through. That's all this is. Not a wall around your heart, just a lock on the door. I think about that night often. I think about how the whole difference between keeping my savings and losing them came down to one stubborn little question that simply would not leave me be. Why hide it from his mother? And I have made myself a promise ever since that I will hand that same question and these same words to as many people as I can reach, so that the next good-hearted soul who gets that call at 10 o'clock at night has something stronger than fear to hold on to. I am 85 years old, and I nearly handed my life savings to a stranger in the dark, for one reason only, because he knew how much I love my grandson. Don't let them use your love against you the way they tried to use mine. Keep those words by your phone. Choose your family password this week, and then pick up the telephone the right way and call your children and your grandchildren and tell them every single thing you learned here tonight. Because when you protect them, you protect yourself. And the strongest families are the ones who talk about this out loud, at the kitchen table, long before the thief ever calls. It is never too late to learn how to lock that door. Not at 70, not at 80, not at 85. I am living proof of that, and so are you. If this helped you tonight, do me one small kindness. Subscribe so I can keep sharing what these 85 years have taught me, and so you'll have the next warning before it ever reaches your door. And then tell me down in the comments, have you gotten one of these calls? What did they say to you? Write it down for the next person to find, because your story, sitting right there, might be the very thing that stops a stranger from losing everything next week. I'll be reading every one. Take good care of yourself, and take good care of each other.